Here we go. Great. Well, it is 6:05. I'm Paula Casson from Agility Scales, and we set up this call so that Jürgen Appelo, our founder CEO, and some of the team, we can connect with our investors and give you an update on the situation, give you a chance to ask questions too about the messages that we've communicated recently. What we'll do is I'm going to pass it over to Jürgen to just give a bit of a few words about what's going on, and then we will open it up for questions from anybody. So yeah, Jürgen, over to you.
All right, over to me. So I just came back from a big vacation that I needed very much. You can see the tanned color on my face, and that allowed me to do quite a bit of thinking and reflection, which is important to do every now and then. I came up with the analogy of me when I was young trying to solve the Rubik's Cube. You probably remember that silly little puzzle, which was super hard. You know there is a solution. It is very, very difficult to find the solution by yourself. You keep working at it, and sometimes you just have to put it aside. It's not working. The more you play with it, the more you learn about the puzzle. But every now and then you have to put it aside, do something else, and then the next day you can suddenly have a breakthrough because you've been able to work on something else. And I have that feeling with very much with Agility Scales. We've been working on this for 2 years, a very tough problem that we set ourselves to solve, which is organizational change. Through technology, gamification, whatever, my idea was and still is that people change personal behaviors through devices such as this one that I use for running. And I thought it makes sense to also use technology somehow to drive organizational change. But how, that was the big challenge. How do you solve that problem? Well, we've been working on it for 2 years. And the issue is we got a lot of, in hindsight, perhaps false positives, a lot of encouragement, thumbs up from people. The statistics that we generated were not that bad, so that felt that we were going in the right direction, but we would never actually get any better than not bad. And not bad is not good either. So after 2 years, I've decided we need to pivot. We need a different approach. And my ability to fund the company, to keep funding, is running out because I need to replenish my own resources, basically. That's what I have. I've came to that conclusion. And at this point, without much results to show other than, well, it was not bad, it is very, very hard to get investors at this point. It is much better to just say, okay, well, let's put this puzzle on the side for now, focus on something else, get new insights for a while, so that we can revisit it and maybe have a breakthrough attacking this problem. And fortunately, I have something else going on. You may have seen from my personal streams, I'm doing Shift Up workshops. That is generating money that I much need, not only for my own personal needs, but also to be able to invest in ideas and plans, and that includes Agility Scales in the future. I need to focus on that for now. And put Agility Scales on hold for a while, get some insights through workshops, talking with people, run plenty more experiments, but I am unable to fund an entire team working on Agility Scales that is not yet generating the revenue that we need. So I've decided as CEO, we suspend any activities. It was a very tough decision, of course. I'm not giving up. You have only failed when you have given up, and so we haven't failed yet. We also have not succeeded yet. We're just postponing that conclusion until we have more information. And so that's the situation where we are in right now. From September, basically, I'm going to focus almost exclusively on a Shift Up, which is a completely different project, different business. It is content, it is not technology. It is very much similar to Mansion 3.0, which I've done in the past, and that is running its own course. I am also still a shareholder there, but not busy with the daily activities. So a very similar company, just content, no technology, because if the insights from the workshops, the Shifter workshops, lead to a need for technology development, I want that to be agility skills, mindsetters, and pick up where we left and then go at it from a different angle, basically. So yeah, so those were the decisions. That was the big decision that I had to take. It's super difficult, not only for me, but also for the team. Some of them are on this call, and they knew what they were getting into. We've all discussed that from the beginning. It's a startup. Startups are high-risk projects. On average, according to the data, it depends a bit on the business, but on average, only 1 out of 20 startups becomes a really big success with super high return on investment. Maybe another 40% out of the 20, or another 8 out of the 20, let's say 40%, is mildly successful. You get a decent return on investment. But the other 50% just tanks. It doesn't do anything, and well, that's part of business. Of course, we don't want that. I don't want that because I invested a lot of money and time and energy in this. But I need to focus on something that is working now, grow that bigger, and then revisit the agility skills and mindsetters challenge, which is a much bigger challenge than content creation in itself. So my message to shareholders, to investors, crowd investors is I thank you very much for your encouragement and support. So far, we're not done yet. We put things on hold for the moment, but I want to pick things up because it is very much my desire to get a return on investment on my investment, which was pretty significant. And if I get that ROI, then obviously everyone else will get that as well because we're in the same boat together. I just need more time. The average amount of time for startups to become successful that investors use, the rule of thumb is 7 years. So usually in the startup world, investors know that only after 7 years they can expect a return on investment if the company has been successful. If not, well, then the money is gone, of course. But not earlier than 7 years doesn't make any sense to discuss what is the ROI, because there isn't any until much later down the line. So we still have 5 years, a little less, because we started 2 years and a couple of months ago. So still quite a bit of time to reconsider other options. This is our first real pivot, as I would call it. The previous times we changed direction a little bit previously, but I call those patches. Basically, that's a patch is a change in tactics, but not a change in strategy. This is a change in strategy, but not a change in vision. The vision remains the same, but we need a new strategy. So this is the real pivot, and we're not the first startup that needs a pivot. I think if you look at all the successful big startups out there, most of them have pivoted once or twice during their early years before those 7 years ran out. So that's the situation now. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. I wish I could say that we were making millions of euros, but we're not. We're not there yet. So, but I hope we will get there ultimately. That's my 10-minute summary, and yeah, I will hand it over back to Paula to see if there are any questions from the people in this call, or any were submitted before.
Yes. So Hema, Simon, Eduardo, if you guys have any questions, you are welcome to unmute and ask them directly, or if you can also post them in the chat in the message function. So if anyone has questions. feel free to unmute and interrupt me. Otherwise, while you're thinking about what you might want to ask, let me just go to some of the questions that came in online from our emails and our messages that went out there.
Sure.
So let's see. The first sort of comment, which is probably worth talking about, one person wrote, "I'm curious as to some of the challenges you faced with getting traction for the app and website. I would have thought that this would have been a fantastic resource to support personal and organizational growth and development." So that's sort of asking why do you think it didn't work?
Yeah, well, that's a great question that sadly we do not have answers to, because I think if we had the answer, we would have solved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's similar to, yeah, why do we not yet have the solution or the cure to malaria or HIV or whatever? Well, those are super difficult problems. We know everything that doesn't work. That's valuable. We just need a different angle on the problem. So yeah, the answer to the question, why did you not solve the problem yet? It is a tough one, but we're not giving up.
No, I would say too, we all sat down a couple of weeks ago to look at what would we do differently, like looking back at the last 2 years and what we did, how would we do things differently? So we have, I would say, well, there's no one cause, right? It's way more complicated than that.
Definitely.
We definitely have a lot of learnings in terms of how to do the next phase, essentially.
Yeah, indeed. And if I may comment on that, I wrote a blog post about one of them, one insight that I had, that in hindsight, everything is obvious. They call it retrospective coherence in complex systems. It is super easy to look back and say, well, I was being an idiot there, but you never know that you're being an idiot in the moment until after the fact. But one thing that I learned was that you cannot make something big that works. You need to have something small that works and then build on top of that and keep it working. And basically what we had something small that didn't really work, and then we added something and then hoped that would make it work, but it still did not work. And then we added something else, hoping that would make it work. And we repeated that iteratively, hoping that at some point the whole thing would start to work.
You're right, with our Mindsettlers app.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And then we ended up with a big thing that didn't work. So that is something that I learned, to stop adding stuff, hoping that at some point it will work. You have to cut it down, reduce it to something small that works, and only when you have something small that works, then grow it again. And that is super, super difficult. It's ridiculous how easy it is to recognize this when I just say it, but when you're in the middle of things, it is very hard to recognize that you're just adding stuff to something that is not really working well.
Yeah. Well, the next question, Hema, thank you. Hema asks, are you going to still use the app in the Shift Up workshops with the current status?
Yeah, so a good question. It is definitely on my mind, and we're discussing with the team how to keep things running with minimal maintenance, because it is important to keep experimenting. I just do not have the financial resources at this point to finance an entire team. But it's important to keep trying things. So we have a small app, a prototype workshop app that we will be using in the next couple of workshops. That will give me some more insights with the latest features that we added. And based on those insights, I will decide whether to reboot that particular part of the Mindsettlers platform, so to speak, with the workshop app. And also what we keep running for a while longer is the website itself, which has a ton of good content. People want access to that. It is not a big problem. Just keep that running. I mean, just the cost of keeping a website operational is not that significant. But there will be no development on it for a while. But I will use the workshops just to test, to talk with people, to understand the market better, and to figure out, maybe with people in the workshops, to what would be the better angle to solve this problem. Because I'm sure others would love us to be successful at it
Yeah.
as well.
Just to finish up on that too. So the workshop part of Mind Settlers, you're looking at for the website. We are going to add in the ability to search the content. So we've taken, the app had all of the ways you could action content, and so that's paused, put on hold. That's gone. September 15th is when the app will stop. But on the website right now, we're going through adding in an easy search function so you can go in there and get to stuff easily. Before this, you could only do that in the app. But now the website will have that. It'll be free. We're going to have the content there. We're going to have the Slack community still going, and that will remain. Sort of.
Just
go ahead,
just a tiny correction. You said app will work until the 15th. It's actually the 8th.
It's the 8th. Oh, I thought it was the 5th. It's the 8th. I'm sorry. You are correct. It's the 8th. Getting my dates mixed up. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great. And Simon, I see you've posted a comment, and Simon said, have you used up the current runway mostly before you decided to pivot? How much is still preserved?
Basically what is preserved until this September the 15th. And that is also the date at which the team stops being operational. So yes, we have used up the current runway. We've considered raising new funds in the summer. We've talked extensively about it with the team, looked at the options, and just concluded that we do not have a good story to tell investors at this point to convince them to add money. And that would mean, if we did it, it would mean a huge dilution of the people who have already invested, because it would significantly downgrade the valuation of the business if we raise now. Better not to raise and just look at the problem again with a different perspective a bit later, and then run more experiments through the workshop. And when that will be, I don't know. Definitely not this year. Maybe next year we're going to talk again about how to reboot the Mindsetters platform, app, whatever we want to call it, and then we'll look at whether to raise money or not. Maybe bootstrapping is the better option, depending on the ideas that we have at that time.
Okay. Simon, if you have any other, if you want more details, just ask. Some of the other questions that we had through email, can you let me know the current value of the shares that were purchased, that I've purchased during the funding period? So there's a few questions.
Yeah, so,
certificates and shares.
Right. Well, a value of shares is only possible when there is a funding round, because then a price needs to be established depending on the buyers, because the buyers basically decide what the price is. Right now, we decided not to have a funding round, but because we would expect the price of the shares not to be high. It would not be zero, but it would also not be high enough to prevent dilution. So anything between zero and a lot of money is possible, depending on the story that we could tell. But there is no funding round, therefore there is no valuation of shares at this point. If there are no buyers, there is no price.
Yeah. Okay, and some of these questions I see here we've already answered. There's one, you suggested that ShiftUp could be a customer of Agility Scales in the future. I think you mentioned this a little bit about, but maybe you can elaborate on the roles.
Yeah. Like I said, ShiftUp is like Management 3.0, it's just pure content. We have a small team working there already, trying to make my workshop successful, and then licensing, and I've done that business before, so there's not much new. which is good because I have something that works, and we need to make it bigger and keep it working. But there will be we will not have developers or anything on that team. It means if we come to the conclusion we want to have some technology built, and the Management 3.0 team had that before, for example, with what is now called Workshop Butler, which has spun off as a separate company, we could experience something similar. Of course, Shift Up brand is also already using Workshop Butler for announcement and management of the workshops. But if we need some other technology for the content, for example, it would be my first choice to use that opportunity to reboot Mindsetters, because that was technology for content, and that would give us a direction in which to solve the problem. I see that as one way, one possible way to move forward with agility skills. So let's see what happens with Shift Up. That's going to be my focus in the first place, because I need finances, funding for any future ideas to be able to invest in them. That means that Shift Up needs to be a success first. And when that is a success, I will have by that time more information through the workshop from people I've been talking with, from the experiments we've been running, what the possible solution could be for Mindsetters. In the beginning, when I remember the first meeting with my team, Paula may remember that, and Harold, they were there. I used the image of climbing a mountain. We know where we want to end up, at the top of the mountain. At that point, we chose just one side. Let's start climbing here. Well, we tried all paths on that side of the mountain, and nothing helped us to reach the top. Now it is a matter of trying another side of the mountain. The question is which side would be the best one. But I want to climb it again.
Very good. And the last question we had was, how will you keep investors informed about agility scales? Or
oh, sure. So we had a semi-monthly update. We skipped 1 month in the summer, I believe, because, well, obvious, because there was on the one hand not much going on in the summer, but also too much going on in terms of decisions, so that we had to delay an announcement. There won't be monthly updates for agility skills, crowd investors. That makes no sense when not much is going on in that area. So I expect a quarterly update, just to keep you updated on the ideas that are developing, some experiments that we've been running, and the possible paths on the other sides of the mountain that we could try. So yeah, I expect once every 3 months or so.
Great. And I'd say too, the Slack community, our agility scale Slack community, it's still there, and it's still going to be used for innovation, agility. So that's definitely still going to be alive.
Yeah, exactly. Any other questions from the people on this call, perhaps? Last chance.
Yeah, any other questions? That's all the ones that I had.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well then I'll wrap it up and say, well, this is part of entrepreneurial life. Welcome.
Oh, we lost him. We'll see if we get him back.
To my life, I suppose. It is only failure when you stop trying to solve the problem, and I'm not there yet, but I need my time and focus on something else that works for now, so that I can have the energy and the time and resources to reinvest in this problem and pick up where we left.
Yep, and I just say thank you to all the investors who supported us. We're just really honored. I think we've got a lot of emails back saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Here's my feedback. Here's what I think about what you did." But mostly, it's so much encouragement. We're really, really honored.
I was very happy with the emails that we got, because we sent a message a week or two ago, and there was not There was not a single message that was negative. It was all just questions and thumbs up and keep going at it, that kind of stuff. So that is important for us as well, the trust and the encouragement of the community. So if there is a solution, you will find it, but we don't know if the solution is there, but we believe there is a solution. If it is there, we'll find it somehow, and we have still time. We just need to recover our breath for a moment.
Yes, and I think we do welcome feedback. Right, I've had a few investors go, "Oh, I saw this that you did, and I wasn't sure about that, or I wasn't like." Feel free to tell us how you saw it for us too. We can certainly learn from your perception. You know, if you have some critiques for us, send them through.
Sure.
All right. Well, I think that wraps it up. Thanks, Jürgen. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you to Paula for organizing. Thanks, everyone on this call. Thanks for watching, those watching later. Feel free to reach out on the Agility Scale Slack or an email. One of us will be answering.
Absolutely. And I'll upload this and get the link out to everybody by email.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.